Hello and welcome to the Commander's Quarters, your Magic the Gathering source that helps you command your budget. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG Player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all their support. And also, the Search for the Ancient Bauble Kickstarter has launched, so make sure you go check that out. The Kickstarter campaign will last for 30 days, and after that, the playmat will no longer be available for purchase. Hey everyone, Mitch coming in for the Commander's Quarters studio. Welcome to the show. So recently, I did an episode on a $1 Commander deck. I wanted to see if it was possible to build a functional Commander deck on the smallest of budgets. So outside the Commander, I limited every single card in the deck to just 1 penny per card. And with a very affordable Commander that was less than a quarter, the entire cost of the deck came in less than $1. Okay, I guess I should clarify, yeah, that doesn't include shipping, and basic lands are not included. But still, even with those, being able to build a deck on the smallest of budgets like that got me thinking. What if there was an entirely budget variant of Commander? A format where everyone has access to the entirety of the card pool. Whether you have a large budget or a small budget for a deck, every single card is affordable. Price no longer becomes the reason that you're not including a card in your deck, and players don't get advantages for spending more money on their deck. So let me introduce you to a concept that I'm calling Quartermaster. Quartermaster is a very simple budget Commander variant. It's not going to be changing any of the gameplay rules of Commander. It simply has a card pool that changes over time based on price. Now, I don't claim to have invented this concept, and I'm sure that someone else has thought of this before. In fact, if you haven't seen Quest for the Jank Lord, first off, you're missing out. They are a fantastic Commander gameplay channel that I've been lucky enough to be on multiple times. The rule for the decks that are on their channel is that all cards in a player's deck with the Commander included must be valued at 79 cents or less at the time of the build. And of course, another comparison for this concept and a major inspiration for it is Penny Dreadful. Now, if you haven't heard of Penny Dreadful, it's a fantastic Magic Online format that is all about budget. The cards that are legal in this format are solely based on price. If a card is 2 cents or less on Magic Online, it's legal. Or at least I should say it's legal for that season. For Penny Dreadful, there are quarterly rotations where the legality of cards is determined. Cards are going to go up and down in price during a quarter, and their legality is going to change. Regardless, for the next season, the cards are guaranteed to be budget. Now, for Quartermaster, obviously there have to be certain differences. First off, a 2-cent limit might work on Magic Online, but in paper, not so much. To have a healthy card pool for a singleton format like Commander, the price needs to be slightly higher than that. So if you're thinking ahead, you might have already guessed the limit for the format known as Quartermaster. It's gonna be a quarter. Each and every single card in the card pool for the format is 25 cents or less. Now, you might be worrying that that might not give us access to enough cards, but actually that gives us access to quite a few. In fact, 13,000 of them. That's right, over 13,000 cards out there are less than 25 cents. That is a massive card pool to pick from. It's much larger than formats like Standard, Pioneer, Historic, and Pauper. It's actually right around the same amount as Modern. And eerily, it's really close to the card pool size of Penny, which again has Magic Online prices, so those are different. Now, yes, obviously the size is not as large as Commander in general. In Commander, there are over 21,000 cards that are legal. But in comparison with cards that are 25 cents or less, you're still getting access to 64% of the cards. So there are still a ton of cards to pick from, and all of them are budget friendly. Just like in Penny Dreadful, this is a budget brewer's paradise. You can build whatever you want, and you know that you're on at least an even playing field when it comes to budget with every other player. For every deck that you build, you're probably going to be spending $16 or less. And that's probably even a little high. That's basically estimating 63 cards in your deck that aren't lands at 25 cents exactly, which would be $15.75, but still, 16 just easier to say. Regardless, a lot of your cards aren't going to be exactly 25 cents. So the price would be even less than that, and yes, I know I'm not including basic lands, but basic lands you can get pretty much anywhere. Now, with that, I am talking about the 99 cards in your deck because the Commander is going to be slightly different. If you were to limit this format to just Commanders that are 25 cents or less, it would get old very quickly. Currently, there are just 200 commanders that are at 25 cents or less. And also, it would be a really big feel bad if all of a sudden on next season your commander is no longer legal because it went over 25 cents. So an exception on price would be made specifically just for your commander. Now, like I said before, and I want to stress again, Quartermaster is just a concept for a commander variant. We'll talk about even if there's a potential for this to move forward later. So right now, I'm just giving you my raw, high-level thoughts on this type of a format. Nothing is set in stone. That being said, the commander's ignoring price limitation does throw a unique curveball to this format. A card might be legal as a commander, but not legal in the 99. So because it's a commander, I could build a deck around the new Beledros Witherbloom. But if I was building a deck around another commander, I couldn't just include it in the 99 of that deck because it's a $20 card. Again, that throws a unique curveball to this kind of a format. Now, is this all perfect? No. Would things or rules change if this actually became a commander variant? Maybe. But again, I think that allowing commanders that are more than 25 cents is a much better solution than not. Again, obviously it just gives you a lot more commanders to choose from. It nearly gives you 1,000 more commanders to pick from. And going from 200 to over 1,100 is a huge difference. And again, it would be a major feel bad if you built an entire deck around one commander and then next season their price went over 25 cents and you had to dismantle the deck. Now, speaking of feel bads and rotation, yes, let's talk about that. One thing that many commander players enjoy about Commander is that it doesn't rotate. Your cards are always going to be legal and you keep playing with them, unless certain ones get banned, which rarely happens. Regardless, to keep a format like Quartermaster budget, it would have to have a rotating schedule. Now, is that like Penny Dreadful where it's quarterly? I'm not sure. Maybe it's twice a year or once a year. Not including new sets when they come in, they'd be evaluated for their cards that can then be added to the format. For example, if a new set comes out and 1 week after the set came out a card is 25 cents or less, then that one can be added to the format. You wouldn't have to wait for the next season or rotation. Regardless, that's probably getting a bit too into the weeds, and let me get back to my point. Commander players don't like their cards rotating and not being able to use their cards. And I definitely agree with that in a lot of ways. However, for a budget format like this one, rotation doesn't hit anywhere near as hard. Let's say that next season starts and the card pool is released, and 10 of your cards are no longer within that budget restriction. For a lot of formats, replacing cards during rotation can be incredibly expensive. But in this format, the most that you're going to be paying to replace those cards is $2.50 in total. And again, that's assuming that every single card that you put in is 25 cents a piece. And with that rotation, there's also a lot of cards that can jump back into being under budget. If a card's price goes down because it's reprinted or whatnot, it can jump into the format. As you can see with a simple search on Scryfall, there are a ton of cards that are just out of budget and with maybe one reprint would be back into budget. So this can help keep things fresh by adding new things back into the format. A format like this can be self-regulating. If enough people play the format and there's a certain card that's incredibly powerful in it, then that card's price is going to keep rising. Eventually it's going to rise to the point where it's priced out of the format. So that problematic card is now gone and other cards can shine. In fact, there probably wouldn't even need to be a ban list in this format at all, because the vast majority of banned cards in Commander are already above 25 cents. With a simple search, it looks like there's 22 cards, but actually 21 of those are conspiracies, which, yeah, those shouldn't be allowed in a Commander format. So if you take all those out, the only card left is Channel. Out of all the banned cards in Commander, only one meets the price restriction for Quartermaster. And if that card were to be legal to start off Quartermaster, it would immediately be not legal the next season because its price would jump to well above 20 cents. A budget seasonal format can self-regulate. So there really wouldn't need to be a ban list because problematic cards are just going to price themselves out of the format. And this kind of self-regulation can also solve other problems. Or at least I should say perceived problems by many in Commander. The first of these is the reserve list. The reserve list are cards that are never going to be reprinted, so their price will only continue to increase. And the most powerful of them and the most expensive of them will never be affordable for the majority of Magic players. So yes, in a way, cards like Gaia's Cradle, Time Twister, and Mox Diamond can be perceived as pay to win. And because of the nature of the reserve list, there have been many Commander players out there that have been calling for the reserve list cards to be banned in Commander. Now, I might not agree with that, but I can definitely see the logic and thought behind it. That being said, the reserve list cards are not a problem in a self-regulating format like Quartermaster. You can probably guess how many reserve list cards are 25 cents or less. And the answer is 0. So the reserve list cards aren't banned, but their price is never going to be in the budget restriction. So that takes care of that issue of the haves and have-nots of the reserve list. Now the reserve list is a have and have-not issue from the past. But this kind of budget restriction and self-regulation can also solve future problems as well. Most notably, future products like Secret Lair, The Walking Dead. Now, obviously I've already previously talked about in length my thoughts on this particular product, so I'm not going to go into a ton of detail on why I find it problematic. Regardless, I will touch on future products like this one quickly. Secret Lair The Walking Dead was the first Secret Lair that featured a direct-to-consumer product that had mechanically unique cards. And while it might be the first, it's definitely not the last. A little while ago, Wizards unveiled its future plans with Universes Beyond. So starting in 2022, we're probably going to be seeing similar products. Direct-to-consumer products with mechanically unique cards that many, including myself, consider predatory. Now, these types of direct-to-consumer products, though, are going to have cards that end up being pretty expensive. So to a point, a self-regulating budget format could handle these as well. But also, this budget restriction and self-regulation also solves the problem of fast mana that some see in the format. Some players might not like to see a card like Mana Crypt or Mana Vault or Sol Ring played on turn 1, so a player just gets really far ahead. Again, this solves the problem, essentially taking fast mana out of the format. Now, I could go on and on listing potential benefits for the budget restriction and self-regulating nature of the format. But to me, perhaps the best thing with this budget restriction is that it allows other cards to see the light of day. There are plenty of cards out there in Commander that are considered auto-includes. They are hyper-efficient cards that stand above all the others. If money's no object, you're going to be hard-pressed to argue against including them in every single one of your decks that you can. So to some Commander players, it can be really boring to see these same overpowered cards over and over again. I mean, just even looking at blue, you're going to be hard-pressed to find arguments against these three cards. Mana Drain is just Counterspell plus, and Counterspell is already a very powerful card. Cyclonic Rift is an incredibly overpowered board wipe that can get incredibly old to lose to over and over again. And Rhystic Study can draw its controller an incredible amount of cards while also annoying every other player at the table. Now, I'm not saying that overpowered annoying cards should be banned. I am saying that overpowered cards are expensive, including the annoying ones. And a budget-restricted, self-regulating format can regulate them out. And then other cards can start to see the light of day because those auto-includes will be gone. Restriction breeds creativity. So in a strange way, although you're giving yourself less options by making it a smaller card pool, you're giving yourself more options on what cards you can actually include in the deck. Those previous spots that were saved for auto-includes are now gone and opened up. And if a new card becomes an auto-include, again, its price is going to self-regulate it. The more and more players that play it, the higher its price goes, and then eventually it regulates itself out of the format. So again, cards that do amazing things yet today don't see the light of day can. Now again, is this concept for Quartermaster a budget Commander variant perfect? No. It's just a starting point for discussion, and I want to make it very clear that that's just what this episode is. I am definitely not announcing that this is an official format that has been created. That being said, it's something that you can play, and you actually can even build a Quartermaster deck and play it against regular Commander decks. There's no rule out there that says you can't restrict your own budget. Now, will Quartermaster or something like it ever become an actual thing? I don't know. There are a lot of steps to that, and this isn't even step one. So that's where you come in. Now, I might like this concept for Quartermaster, but again, I'm only one person. So I would love to hear from you to hear your thoughts on this concept. Let me know in the description below what you think. What do you like about it? What don't you like about it? What things need to be considered still? I'm sure there are plenty of things that I missed even for a concept as simple as this one. I've been known to overlook certain details in the past that I probably should have considered. Regardless whether Quartermaster ever becomes a thing or not, I really enjoyed this thought experiment. And again, even if it never becomes anything, I'm probably still going to build some decks with this restriction. I truly believe that restrictions breed creativity, so I can have a lot of fun with this. And again, I can still play those decks against regular Commander decks because that's all they are, regular Commander decks but with a restriction. Regardless, thank you in advance again for commenting below and letting me know your thoughts on this. With your comments, I should be able to get a better gauge on if this has any kind of potential or if it's just the worst idea I've ever come up with. Or I probably should say one of them. I've come up with some pretty bad ideas. But now I'm just rambling, so again, as always, thanks again and have a good one.